Until about 3 years ago, I probably spent less than 20 to 30 minutes outside per day. Not even in nature, just outside. Nowadays, I don't feel quite myself when I don't go outside and connect with nature in some way, even if it's just for half an hour a day. In many ways, I have gotten a lot more content over the years. And I highly attribute this to my relationship with nature and welcoming it as an integral aspect into my life. This video is going to be about why connecting with nature has changed my life, as dramatic as this may sound, and about practical tips on how to accomplish this. Even if you don't live in, let's say, a self-sufficient cabin in the woods, but you are a regular guy just like me, striving to live a life where nature plays a central part in your everyday life. And I get it, it can be super challenging. We as humans, we seemingly have conquered nature. We can genetically modify plants to yield larger crops. We can fly around the world. We have built houses for maximal comfort. The big cities that everybody seems to be moving into, they are built on maximum efficiency, maximum consumerism, and optimal comfort. They're pretty much as unnatural as it can be. And we are surrounded by technology all day long. Technology gives us great benefits that everybody of us can use every single day. But it can also create a distance with the world around us. I remember last summer I visited the beautiful city of San Diego in America for the first time, and I went to the famous Sunset Cliffs to see a sunset. And of course I wasn't alone, and there were many people with me there to witness this sunset. But the thing that was interesting to me was that me and my wife, we pretty much seemed to be the only two people that didn't have their cell phones out to either go on a live stream on Instagram or take 1,000 pictures to post later on social media. It seemed like we two were the only two people that were actually there to watch and witness the sunset. Everybody was fixated on their phones. Nobody had their eyes on the actual scenery. And that was actually kind of sad. When I prepared this video, I really quickly realized that our modern life is so far off from being connected with nature, but also just being natural. We wear shoes that have huge cushioned soles that kind of deform our feet. We eat factory-made foods that are full with chemicals that aren't found anywhere in nature. And most of us work in jobs that are mostly done inside, that have fixed work schedules that go against the natural rhythms and cycles of a normal human being. And that has become everyday, modern, normal life for almost everybody. And I include myself in that. I am a regular guy. I work a regular job. I get my food mostly from the supermarket nearby. I also take advantage of what modern technology has to offer us. At least that is the current status quo for me. I grew up near a big city in Switzerland, and to be honest, most of my life so far, I just wanted to spend inside in front of a screen and not be bothered by nature at all. I have never really been a big nature boy, to be honest. However, in the last couple of years, I have regained this connection to nature to a certain degree. My life has gotten so much better, which is why I really had the urge to make this video here. And even though we might think that we are so sophisticated and civilized, we are still super primal deep inside of us, and we need a certain connection to nature. The first point that I would suggest to you would be to learn about nature from a new perspective. I think we all have seen those beautiful nature documentaries about the planet Earth, about the wildlife, and they are filled with stunning imagery, but it is an example of a type of media that we all know and that is very mainstream, I would say. And there is a lot of media out there that approaches nature from very different angles. As an example, I recently read the book The Secret Life of Trees, or in German Das geheime Leben der Bäume. And it is a book that covers how an ecosystem of a forest works, how trees interact with each other and how different tree types work and how they work during the seasons, how they shift during the seasons, etc. And that is a very unique approach that I have personally never thought of before and that I learned a lot from. But besides books, I think that different types of media, as an example, music, can also be a great way to approach and learn about nature from a different perspective, from a different angle, as it is often very personal to the musician, to the artist. And you can learn their point of view, which is rooted maybe in something much deeper, in a theme that you can then explore and learn new things about nature. Here I would have the music project Wadruna, which I already mentioned once or twice here on this channel. And I know I've talked about them before, but I simply have to talk about them from time to time because they have had such a big impact on my life and my connection or reconnection to nature. And by simply being open to new media and learning about new topics, such as how do forests or trees work, what is animism, maybe what is cyclical thinking in regards to nature, those are things that usually aren't covered in most standard documentaries. But if you are open and willing to learn about nature from different perspectives, from different media, then you may be presented with subjects or worldviews that are completely new to you. And since you already clicked on this video and are still watching it, you kind of already made the first step into this direction. The more you start to learn about nature and everything in and around it, the more you will start to appreciate every single life that there is on this planet. At least that was absolutely the case for me. I quickly realized that in the end it doesn't matter if it is a tree, a deer, or a human being. We're all living entities and we're all alive, and we have to have respect for every single living being on this planet. Something that maybe sounds odd at first, but has actually helped me a lot, is finding a suitable nature analogy for you. Personally, I feel a strong connection with trees. And I know I'm gonna sound like a total hippie right now, but hear me out, okay? Sometimes life can get hard for everybody, and there might be things happening to us, like a furious storm that is shaking us through the core. It might be a time of constant darkness, rain, and harsh winds. And whenever life feels that way for me, or has felt that way for me, what I like to do is go outside into the woods, and I like to find a tree that is old, that is standing tall, because I know that this tree standing right here, that has stood here for decades, has faced a lot of storms, a lot of rain, a lot of dark times in its life. But in the end, it still stands tall. It stands tall, it is calm, it is collected, it is stronger than ever before. And sure, probably he has lost a couple of twigs along the way, maybe he has some holes in the bark, but in the end, he's still here. Those storms have long passed by, and it still stands tall. His roots are deep in the ground, and he's a calm and collected entity. And for me, this image of a weathered old tree is so beautiful. It's such a beautiful image that automatically gives me a better connection to nature. Of course, for you, it doesn't have to be an analogy with trees. It can be an analogy with maybe a beach, maybe an animal, maybe a weather condition like rain or wind. Find what is meaningful to you and carry it with you in your life. And you will see that you will look upon nature in a completely different way, through a completely different lens, once you make that beautiful imagery work for you. Everything here on the planet, in the end, goes through similar struggles and cycles, just like you do. Growing your own food and learning where your food actually comes from has also been an absolute game changer for me. After all, nature is the great provider for us all. We wouldn't be able to survive without it. Nowadays, it is just so convenient to go into a supermarket and buy whatever your heart desires. You can just simply pick it up, put it in your shopping cart, and then you can take it home. It is already cleaned, pre-portioned. It doesn't often look like the product that it once used to be in its natural form, and it is just super convenient. And for the most part of my life, I really didn't think about where my food that I bought and consumed was coming from, how it actually grew, how it actually looked in its natural form. I just recently was shocked when I saw how a Brussels sprout plant actually looked, and that is kind of embarrassing, but that's the reality. Most of us have no idea how the food actually looks in its natural form and how it grows. But not only do we not know how it is grown by the beautiful provider that is Earth, but also how much energy and labor is put in by the farmers that produce the food. We moved here to the countryside about a year ago, and in the last spring I decided that I wanted to start a small garden for myself. I wanted to grow some plants for some vegetables, grow some herbs, and just learn this new skill. To be honest, I wasn't very successful at it. It was my first year after all, but it taught me a valuable lesson. To see how a whole plant that can grow vegetables can grow out of a tiny seed is an absolute miracle to me. And if you've never grown your own food before, it maybe sounds a little bit ridiculous, but the amount of gratitude that you feel when you can simply harvest a head of salad, that is an absolutely amazing feeling. And growing your own food is something that has become really interesting to me. I would love to one day have a very big, luscious garden that can provide a lot of vegetables and herbs for our daily needs, and I hope that one day this will be my reality. I understand that having a garden is not something that everybody has in their life. After all, this is a huge luxury that I have here. I am absolutely aware of that. And it is absolutely fine not to have a garden to do this. You can grow some plants, some herbs on a balcony in your apartment. It is super accessible. That is absolutely magical too, and you can witness this beautiful thing that nature is doing pretty much anywhere that you live. Now comes a very obvious suggestion, but something that I'm convinced not that many are actually doing, and that is to spend more present time in nature. Now, I live in Switzerland, and in Switzerland, even if you live in a city, you can hop on a train or a bus, and within 20 to 30 minutes you are at a lake, you are in the mountains, or you're in greenery. It is super simple, yet not that many people actually spend a lot of time in nature. And you can probably ask yourself or look at the people around you and be honest, how much time do you actually spend in nature every day? Chances are that time is pretty low, and that is absolutely normal nowadays. I recently read a study that stated that almost 1 in 5 Americans spends less than 15 minutes outdoors every single day. And I get it if you don't work in a job that requires you to be outside. You work inside, maybe in an office, and nature seems so far off. For most people, it is already a huge accomplishment if they go on that weekend walk for maybe an hour in the forest. And when they're outside, they don't really pay attention to the beautiful nature around them. They're maybe on their phone, they listen to a podcast, they maybe are even calling somebody. They are doing everybody to distract themselves from this beautiful nature. Being present when you are in nature is something that most of us have to relearn. Being present in general is something that a lot of us struggle with, myself included. I find it extremely difficult sometimes to be present in a moment, but I feel that nature is the perfect surrounding to relearn that and to be present, because there is so much going on in nature that you can observe and that you can let in. If you're in the forest, or let's say you're on a beach, there are so many sensations that you can let in and soak up all of that beautiful energy. Personally, I try to go on 1 or 2 outdoor walks each and every day. That is something that helps me a lot, that makes me feel good. And I try to, if the weather allows it of course, to incorporate more and more activities outdoor of my daily life, like eating outside, maybe working out outside. I try to do stuff like maybe walking more bare feet. This is something that maybe sounds odd, but simply walking on the ground with your bare feet and not some shoes is something super special. There have been so many discoveries on the positive impacts that spending time outside in nature have on your health in general, for your body and for your mental health as well. So it is an absolute win-win situation. If you want to spend more time outside, I would suggest you to make it habitual and to make it as easily accessible to you as possible. If you live in a city, maybe you have a park nearby that you can visit regularly, and on the weekends you can make a trip further out to the countryside and go for a nice walk. Or you can even decide to maybe move a little bit outside of the city where nature is more easily accessible, and then going for regular walks, spending time outside with activities has to become maybe some sort of routine, some sort of habit that you do, that you can develop step by step. So just try it out for yourself and try to stick with it as good as you can. Make it a habit for yourself and find a way to be more present when you spend time in nature. It really makes a huge difference. So in conclusion, I would say that finding or rediscovering your connection with nature can give you a lot of joy and positive benefits in your life. It certainly had a profound positive impact on my personal life, which is why I wanted to share my thoughts and my message with you. Having a connection with nature is something completely personal and different for everybody. How you approach your connection with nature is unique to every single person. I know that all of you out there watching have different approaches and methods to connecting with nature, with your own practices and methods. And I'm sure that you will have some great suggestions and additions to my list that I would be super glad to read in the comments, so please feel free to share them. With that being said, I know that this video was maybe a little bit different from the usual slow living content that you are maybe used to on this channel, but it was such an important topic to me that I truly wanted to dedicate an entire video to this. If you're interested in my journey here in the beautiful Swiss countryside, feel free to come along. Thank you very much for watching. I wish good health and joyful times upon you, and I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.